Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at another one of the balance updates in the Season 19 balance patch, and that is the damage buff to Seed Bomb on Whimsicott. Now Whimsicott has a pretty terrific typing. It's a grass fairy type, and it has an ability to core break a lot of teams. However, in previous seasons, its grass moves left a little bit to be desired. Grass Knot did a nice amount of damage, but was too expensive, and Seed Bomb was very quick to get to, but didn't really hit very hard. So now with Seed Bomb doing extra damage, I have high hopes for Whimsicott and how it can perform in the Open Great League. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. Hopping into the first match, terrific lead Whimsicott versus Shadow Dragonite, and the Dragonite is not switching out. So they're probably running one of the Dragon plus Water cores that are very common. So my guess is it probably could be something like a Lantern in the back. They go for the Dragon Claw. It's double resisted, so I don't have to respect it. I'm going to fire off the Moonblast and pick up the KO. In comes Lickitung. I will want to switch out of this matchup eventually, but first I do want to land a Moonblast. Moonblast is going to do some pretty substantial damage, and now I'm going to farm up, bank the Seed Bomb for later, switch into Feraligatr, and I actually end up catching a Body Slam as well, which is even better. Let's see, is it going to be the Lantern they're farming up? It's not a Lantern, but it is going to be a Water type. It's going to be the Whiscash. So right off the bat, Whimsicott doing some nice core breaking. I have the Seed Bomb banked, and whether I can land a Hydro Cannon here or not, Seed Bomb is going to be able to absolutely crush this Shadow Whiscash. Whiscash is going to shield one, tank one, and they are at the back-to-back Mud Bombs here. Mud Bomb will pick up the KO. Whimsicott able to win charge attack priority, and if they want this energy, they're going to have to commit the final shield. They're double shielding, and now I just have a very straightforward path to victory where I can let this go, one shield Water Gun down with the Lantern, and the nice thing is I've already gotten that Lickitung below half HP by landing the Moonblast earlier. So now, they should be in a range where a couple Water Guns plus a Thunderbolt will be able to knock them out. In comes the Lickitung. I make it to the Thunderbolt. I don't think this is quite Thunderbolt range, but it should be very close. The Thunderbolt connects. And the nice thing here is, regardless of what move it is, I don't have to shield it. They will go for the Power Whip. Lantern does not care. Water Guns down, and we take game one. Hopping into game number 2, a much less favorable lead Whimsicott versus the Alolan Sandslash. Save switch into Feraligatr, and the opponent stays in. This is actually terrific for me. I fire off the Hydro Cannon, it lands, and just like that, this is already a range where a Moonblast can knock them out later in the match if need be. Drill Run will connect, opponent sends in the Sableye, and this could be an opportunity for the non-Shadow Feraligatr to shine. If I can survive the Shadow Claws and make it to a second Hydro Cannon, but I just cannot. Oh, that is very unfortunate. I'm going to send in the Whimsicott. They do have enough for the return, but I'm expecting they're going to bait here. The reason being, if they bait, they should be able to make it to a return. So I successfully call the bait, which is quite nice. And now I can commit the shield on the Whimsicott and leave with the Moonblast to get the shield right back from the Alolan Sandslash. Opponent sends in the Sandslash. I actually decided to fire off the Seed Bomb because the Seed Bomb is pretty close to knocking out here as well. The Seed Bomb is going to connect in the back. They have Shadow Gligar, and Water Gun Lantern is about to completely cook this endgame. I try and throw one Water Gun before they get to the move, but unfortunately the game was a little stuttery throughout today's battle, so it does end up being a charge type priority tie, but I'm still very much in the driver's seat of this match, because a bunch of wing attacks plus a dig is not going to be enough to KO the Lantern. My Lantern isn't super highly ranked, but it is still like an okay, a decent Lantern, so the dig not going to knock out here. And I am going to get the full farm down. I'm just looking to switch into the Whimsicott, trying to make it to the Seed Bomb, but due to the one-turn switch, I get outpaced by a turn. But here's the nice thing about having a one-turn fast move. It goes before the two-turn. Water Gun snipes down the Sandslash, and a bad lead isn't a problem as we're able to take the win. We've got a blast from the past in the next match. Oh my goodness. Leading Whimsicott into Medicham. I can survive an Ice Punch, but if they're staying in with a Medicham versus a Whimsicott, I'm expecting they're probably core broken in the back. So I'm going to farm up well past the Moonblast and fire off the Seed Bomb. The Seed Bomb is going to be shielded. Now I can make it to the Moonblast on charge attack priority. This Moonblast will do massive damage. Opponent is going to double shield, and I actually do get the Moonblast debuff. It doesn't help me a ton in this particular matchup. I will get outpaced here since I only baited once, so I'm just going to bank the energy and catch the Ice Punch on Feraligatr. If they stayed in, Whimsicott's going to have play in the back. Opponent now going to send in Altaria, their ABA weak to Charm. Here's where having the Ice Beam would be incredibly clutch. Unfortunately, I do not have it, but the Crunch will still add up, and my opponent will have to throw energy before I make it to Crunch number 2. Sky Attack will be enough to knock out Feraligatr. I can send in the Whimsicott, and look at this overfarm. I can overfarm up to 100 energy and fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast is going to knock Altaria out of the sky. In comes the Medicham. Medicham, maybe I could have knocked out with the Seed Bomb there, but I had enough energy that I was like, you know what? I can just fire off the Moonblast. In the back, it's an Azumarill. And, oh my, they're triple weak. Triple weak to Whimsicott. And here's where we can notice the buff damage to Seed Bomb. Is 2 Seed Bombs, even though Seed Bomb still doesn't have an amazing base damage, it's still going to come very close to 2-shotting the Azumarill. And now I can just send in the Lantern, and the opponent is going to resign the match. We move to the next match, Whimsicott versus Shadow Dragonair. A great lead. Whimsicott does win all evens, going straight Seed Bomb of all things. Although typically, even if you go for the Seed Bomb, you're going to want to build up to the Moonblast. They're going to strike first with the Body Slam. I commit the shield. Opponent save switches a Bastiodon. Save switching a Pokemon as inflexible as Bastiodon has to be a crime, I swear. Bastiodon is now going to be answered with the Lantern. See, if I had something like an Annihilate in the back, the opponent just instantly loses. And that's why save switching Bastiodon is always going to be a truly terrible idea and nothing anyone should ever do. In this case, I mean, I have a Lantern, which can still be a pretty nice hard punish. I'm going to be able to pick up the knockout or grab a shield here, and just like that, I got the shield back. And honestly, I don't really care too much about switch advantage. Because they're forced to throw to get rid of the Lantern, I can send in Feraligatr, and I'm going to intentionally overfarm 2 past the Hydro Cannon. This will allow me to outpace the Dragonair and make it to a Crunch before they make it to their Body Slam. So when they send in the Dragonair, Crunch is going to do a lot of damage here. So as we're going to see, Crunch is going to hurt. They have to shield, and if they shield, they get sniped by a Moonblast. They don't shield, they get Shadow Claw down, and in the back, it is superior, and I'm just in a completely winning position, where I can fire off the Crunch. They're never going to shield this, but I have enough energy on the Whimsicott because, again, they save switch to Bastiodon, which I could farm up to 100 energy or just about on the Whimsicott with 0 repercussions for my actions. I can survive an Aerial Ace, so I can let this through and make it to the Moonblast, and Moonblast is just going to be able to knock out Superior. The opponent definitely would have been in a far better spot if they save switched the Superior, but they ended up save switching the least flexible Pokemon in the game, and they end up getting punished for it. We move to the next match, looking for the 5-0, leading Whimsicott versus Carbink. Carbink always makes me think there's going to be grass types in the back, and if that's the case, then this could get difficult. I fire off the Seed Bomb, I'm going to save switch into Feraligatr, and there is this team's worst nightmare. This team has a triple weakness, and its name is Shadow Victory Bell. This is going to be really tough. I'm able to grab a shield with the Crunch, but the issue here now is my opponent is just going to start firing off Acid Sprays. This is going to reduce my defense by 2 stages and make the resisted Razor Leaves actually do quite a lot of damage. I'm going to build up to the back-to-back Seed Bombs. It's double resisted, but 2 Seed Bombs will be enough to knock out, so even if they shield one, I can still land some damage and put it into Water Gun Farm Down range. Seed Bomb is going to be fired off into the Victory Bell. They're going to let it through. In the back, it's a Shadow Venusaur, and yeah, honestly, I'm not too mad at that loss because I will always lose that game. No matter who's playing this team, you're going to lose that game. So we're just going to move off from that. Bit of a tough lead, Whimsicott versus a regular Gligar. A definite surprise to see regular Gligar. They're going to stay in versus the Feraligatr save switch, Aerial Ace, and send in Annihilate. This is very fine. Feraligatr does great here. The non-shadow is actually a lot better. Opponent is going to be farming up, and they actually lose charge attack priority. So this is a very high rank Annihilate that my opponent is running. If you're running one of the more attack weighted spreads, you can guarantee charge attack priority over any Feraligatr. So my opponent is running a very high rank Annihilate. But the nice thing here is I was able to bait out the Annihilate, I was able to get a shield advantage, and now I get a nice farm for the Whimsicott. Whimsicott will be able to connect with a Moonblast. I was going to say versus the Gligar, but they send in Skarmory, and now we get to see if there's a team where they don't really have a lot of play for Whimsicott, they're probably going to be absurdly weak to Water Gun Lantern. Water Gun Lantern just putting so much pressure on this Skarmory plus Gligar core, and there's nothing Skarmory can do here. So the opponent, down 2 shields to 0 with a Skarmory versus Water Gun Lantern, will resign the match. Moving to the next match, we see a good lead. leading the Whimsicott into a Azumarill. Azumarill staying in, again, makes me think that Whimsicott's going to be very valuable here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw one, switch, and catch the Ice Beam onto Feraligatr. This way I can preserve some energy on the Whimsicott. Ice Beam, not going to do a whole lot of damage. In comes another Annihilate. People love sending Annihilate into Feraligatr, and that is very okay by me, as Feraligatr does great here. Hydro Cannon is going to force the shield. Opponent, I don't believe they're at enough for a Shadow Ball yet, so I am going to let this through. It is just going to be the Night Slash. I'm going to live the counter, but not if they boost. And they end up boosting. That's really unfortunate. I overfarm, and here I just make a complete mental error. I end up playing to a CMP tie that I do not win. For some reason in my head, I thought Whimsicott would win Charge Attack Priority there, but as it turns out, it does not. So that was a pretty big mental error by me. Opponent in the back, they have a regular Typhlosion, and this is another situation where the Water Gun Lantern is going to be able to put in a lot of work. If you have Spark, the Typhlosion can stay on the field for a really long amount of time because your Sparks aren't really doing any damage. So they're going to continually be able to apply Thunder Punch pressure to you, and you can't really apply a lot of pressure in terms of fast moves, whereas Water Gun shreds through Typhlosion. As a matter of fact, in my own Typhlosion video, I did actually go up against a Water Gun Lantern, and it did not go well for me. So my opponent ends up going for an Ice Beam there. Ice Beam, I mean, even if it was the player off, it wouldn't have KO'd, and I just get to double up on the Surfs now. And I am still going to throw in good timing, so when they bring in the Typhlosion, I can still throw a couple Water Guns and then go for the Surf. And Surf definitely going to be able to knock out Typhlosion, as Typhlosion can output a tremendous amount of damage, but it is definitely not the tankiest mon around. Whimsicott versus Poliwrath. This is a pretty nice lead for the Whimsicott. I'm going to farm up to the Moonblast and then bait with a Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb is going to be caught onto Clodsire. That is a nice catch there by my opponent. However, since they're Mud Shot and not Poison Sting, I can farm back up. I'm going to bank a ton of energy and send in the Feraligatr. Feraligatr able to dramatically outpace Clodsire. Clodsire is going to fire off the Stone Edge since they have the energy lead, but now I can fire off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon, I mean, Claude is very bulky, but they've already taken a lot of damage, so they will actually commit the shield. I don't really want to lose switch advantage here because I do have Water Gun on Lantern, and Water Gun Lantern is a lot worse into Poliwrath. I'm going to look to overfarm and fire off another Hydro. Odds are they're probably just wanting to put me into a range where they can counter down with the Poliwrath and avoid taking 2 Hydros. And that's exactly what they've done, is I can get somewhat close to 2 Hydros. Like, I was at 8 Shadow Claws there, but it's not going to be enough. They exit with a lot of energy, so now I'm actually going to send in the Lantern. Lantern is going to be a wall to the typical Poliwrath moveset, and let's see what they have in the back. They're farming up a ton of energy. It's going to be Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and Alolan Sandslash, not a fun matchup for the Whimsicott, but look at Whimsicott, man. Look at the Moonblast damage there. Let's go. You absolutely love to see it. And I'm going to commit the shield because I know that I can force a shield or just knock out with the Moonblast. So I'm going to farm up 5. Again, playing to Charge Attack Priority since Whimsicott is able to win it. The Moonblast is going to pick up the KO. In comes the Poliwrath. They're forced to throw because, again, I can run the faster pacing of Seed Bomb now that Seed Bomb does more damage. And then I can just send in the Lantern, and Lantern is going to get a nice Water Gun down and take the win. Whimsicott versus Vigoroth. This is going to be a good test. Vigoroth, extremely, extremely strong in the Zero Shields. And I'm going to start by firing off the Seed Bomb. I know that I do win Charge Attack Priority, and we pace identically. So far, it looks like 7 Fairy Winds plus a Seed Bomb puts the Vigoroth below 50% HP. So the question is, will this next Seed Bomb be enough to KO? This could come down to IVs here. We'll have to see. This is a bit of a learning moment. The Seed Bomb. Oh, they live that on 1 HP. That is heartbreaking there. And that basically means that my Whimsicott is gone. So if they have an anti-water in the back, which they do in Spark Lantern, I'm in a massive, massive amount of trouble. I will fire off the Crunch. The Crunch is going to connect. Lantern farming up energy. And you know what? They let me get to the Hydro, so I'm going to fire off the Hydro. The Hydro, I mean, it doesn't do a ton of damage, but the goal here is just to continually get it lower and lower until the point where I can Water Gun farm it down. And now I have a choice to make. Do I just shield ones and go for the Water Gun down, or do I go for the flashy play? I decided to go for the flashy play. So I'm going to farm up with the Lantern, go for the catch, and I fail the catch. And that might cost me the game. We'll have to see. Because they just got some extra energy that they wouldn't have got if I just stayed in there. In the back, it's a regular Gligar, though. It's a regular Gligar. Regular Gligar, so much worse than the Shadow, because the regular just can't really do any damage, and it's very inflexible. Like, the Shadow Gligar can potentially flip a Azumarill in the 2-shield. The regular Gligar is never going to be able to do that. They land the dig, and I'm going to fire off the Surf. I should be able to outpace the Gligar here. Gligar cannot make it to 2 Aerial Aces before I make it to my next Surf, and then I just have to Water Gun down the Lantern. Lantern does have residual energy, though, and I am quite worried about that, because we're going to find out very shortly, did my ill-fated attempt to catch cost me the game? Lantern versus Lantern, they make a move on 1 HP, and this game should have been a win, but going for the catch when I didn't need to completely threw the game. And unfortunately, that's game over. Hopping into the final match, terrible lead, Whimsicott into Skarmory, save switch into Feraligatr, and the kind of the universal rule is basically no Skarmory lead team ever has a good response to Feraligatr. So I'm able to overfarm quite a bit, fire off the Hydro, do a lot of damage, I call the Sky Attack, and now they send in Shadow Quagsire. Quagsire, I will fire off the Hydro. Hydro is going to do a solid amount of damage. My opponent is going to perfectly overfarm. In hindsight here, I think I should have let this go, because I shield basically just to get the shield back with the Feraligatr, but realistically, if I let that go and then Fairy Wind down with the Whimsicott, I should better be able to take advantage of the fact that my opponent desynced the timers at the start of the match, whereas now I'm not really going to be able to do that. My switch clock's up. After they wait their clock's going to be up as well. So the advantage that I generated by safe switching the Feraligatr doesn't really make an appearance. I send in the Lantern. In the back, it's Shadow Sableye. The Shadow Sableye looks like it lagged a little bit to start there, but even if it doesn't, I should still be in a winning position here as the Water Gun Lantern, because Water Gun Lantern will be able to shield 1, tank 1, and still have enough HP that I can get enough water gun damage to put it into a range where Moonblast will be able to KO. Opponent is going to send back in the Skarmory, and they resign the match. Having used Whimsicott in the past and honestly left feeling pretty disappointed by Great League Whimsicott, I do think that the Seed Bomb buff is kind of what it needed. It helps it hit a little bit harder in those neutral situations, and it allows you to run the cheaper Seed Bomb, because Grass Knot is going to be a better move, but needing 6 to get to that first move always does feel a little bit too slow. So now Whimsicott gets to run Seed Bomb. The Seed Bomb is going to be faster, so you're never going to be more than 10 turns away from getting to a charge attack. So I do think that this does up Whimsicott's legitimacy a little bit when it comes to the Open Great League, which is nice. And a lot of people just run teams that completely disrespect the existence of Whimsicott. Like, I was watching Action Stream last night, and he had some very good sets with Lantern Double Dragon, but that's a team where if you manage your Whimsicott carefully, you can just sweep that team. So, all in all, ended up being a lot of fun. I went 8-2 over the 2 sets versus some pretty decent competition. So, I do think that Whimsicott definitely showed its merit, and I do think this is a valuable Pokemon to run in the new season. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.